Good morning. I'm a minute late. I'm so sorry. But life of a toddler mum. I'm going to put it down to that. Anyway, it is the monthly coffee and chat with Kate. And today we have Maz and Nikki joining us. And they're already online and wanting to connect. This is beautiful. Let's do this, everybody. Let's do this. Hope this works. Nice. Oh, look how smooth and lovely that was. I think I say that every time because I'm always so amazed it actually works. I do trust technology, I promise you. Yeah. Right, I just need a little bit of adjustment. Hang on. And then we're not showing everything all the time. So good morning, both of you. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. So
Thank you, Kate, for having us.
Of course. I love these. They just feel such a brilliant way of starting the weekend. They sort of round off a month beautifully as well. And it's an opportunity for me to find out more about the Art Can artist, because often I'm so head down. I mention this, I think, quite often. I'm so head down, just sort of behind the scenes, making sure things are happening and it's all brilliant, that I forget that myself as a creative actually really thrives off hearing other creatives and their stories and their sort of inspirations, and it all feeds that sort of collective hive mind that I think all artists sort of feel that they need, and it's part of a network that keeps you moving forward as an individual as well. So thank you for joining. This is brilliant. So I think I've just actually summed up exactly what we are doing here this morning, so I don't necessarily need to do my usual blurb, but today we have Maz and Nikki. And from where are you based, both of you? Because this is a very different conversation this morning. Nikki, where are you at the moment?
I'm based in India. I'm currently in Bombay. I moved back to India in 2019 after I spent about 15 years in the US, but I'm currently here in India.
Oh, hang on. There's a bit coming up. Cancel that. Maz, are you online okay, yeah? Or have you, no, hang on. I think I need to accept this one again. Sorry, Nikki. But I'm kind of absolutely loving that from Bombay, we've got no problems whatsoever. There we go. Is that working, Maz?
Yeah, I think I'm here. I don't know why.
You are. Sorry. Something dropped out and then back in again, but we are all sorted and brilliant. So yes, Nikki is in Bombay, and you are London, are you?
Yeah, I'm in London.
There we go. Totally international this morning, our conversation, everybody, and we're crossing different time zones and everything, and I couldn't be prouder for that. And it's really lovely to actually see you in person. We've had so many emails, Nikki, and never actually seen your face. So this is awesome. Thank you. So without further ado, we have a few sort of questions to share with you, and then you guys get to ask me a curveball question at the end of the chat. So we'll start with you, Maz, if that's all right. And when did you join Art Can and why?
Well, I joined Art Can around the end of last year, and I'd obviously known about it for a little while before because I knew you through work, and I'd actually by chance met a few Art Can artists already who'd really inspired me. And my timing of joining Art Can kind of corresponded with me deciding to step up doing more art, because before that I'd been doing art a bit sporadically, but I made the decision to make more of a go of it and try and continuously push my artwork rather than have a few months off and do a really intense project for a month and then have another few months off. So I've been continually working on that. And to start off with, there's a few reasons Art Can was a good idea for me. To start off with, it was actually a way of holding myself accountable. It made me actually get around to doing my website and all that kind of stuff, which isn't always exciting, but it's good to do to make sure I'm actually sharing my art. And then it was so useful to be able to learn from all the other artists in the network. And then exhibition opportunities, that's another reason. But mostly actually also meeting people has been so good. Got so much encouragement.
Oh, brilliant. And actually, I think that's a recurring theme. So, brilliant. Same question for you, Nikki. When did you join Art Can and why?
I joined Art Can last year, at least. I think it was sometime in May of 22. And the reason I joined ArtCan was I went through your website because I saw your post on Instagram, and then I went to the website, and I was really amazed because the entire focus of ArtCan being a nonprofit was for the betterment of artists, to provide artists all the necessary resources. And being in Bombay, it gave me the opportunity of an international exposure. So I thought this, and I checked out about you, Kate, and I was so impressed because you were an artist too, you know. So you knew exactly where, you know, the difficulties we artists face, and I thought you were doing a commendable job. And so yeah, so that's the reason I joined ArtCan. It was just the kind of support that ArtCan gives its artists,
Yeah.
is what, yeah.
I think also sort of through the pandemic, finding ways of doing online exhibitions,
Yeah.
connecting through sort of technology as opposed to relying it to always needing to be. Sounds like we're getting some feedback from someone, and wondering if have either of you got another device open at the
No.
moment?
No.
Yeah, don't worry. I think it's settled down. Oh, it could just be our international technology. But yes, I think being able to have everything sort of online and sharing in that sort of way meant that the physical aspect of exhibiting, although is absolutely essential and important, didn't necessarily become all that ArtCam was. And I think that is something that we've sort of taken from the pandemic that's actually been a real positive. And it's
Yeah.
something that I'm trying to make sure that we keep that nurtured and
Yeah.
sort of looked after going forward, because it's the world does change and we all need to evolve and change with it and have that flexibility. So this is exactly, you're sort of absolutely giving that great illustration at the moment, so it's wonderful. So let's sort of move on to your sort of personal practices and inspirations and mediums and what you use. And Maz, we'll start with you again, if that's okay.
Yeah, so my inspiration is all inspired by architecture or the built environment, the city, mostly London, as I live in London, but also open to being inspired by other places as I travel. I've worked in architecture for 10 years now, so that's part of the reason why I love architecture. But I've also worked as a model maker for that time, and that's given me woodworking skills, and all my art generally uses wood. I like to use wood because I think it represents some of the aging of buildings.
Yeah.
So often in my job, day to day, I might be thinking about new buildings or sometimes working with existing buildings, but in my artwork, it's sometimes about celebrating existing buildings and celebrating the way that they've aged, or the way that you get quite an unusual mix of buildings together, and like also the stories that the buildings can tell, and like what the buildings can mean to people.
Love it. We'll come on, because I know we've got some exciting news of what you're actually going to be exhibiting coming up in the next week. So we'll come back to that a little bit later. So yeah, Nikki, your sort of inspirations, your medium, and what your practice is.
I think I draw my inspiration from life itself, you know. Not necessarily the problems we face, because I come from that school of thought which believes that art is or should be soothing. I like to create art which is beautiful and soothing, not something that shocks.
Yeah.
So my inspiration also comes from my own spiritual practice, and sometimes the visions that I might see in my meditations. So it comes from that. It could even come from a piece of literature or poetry. I love Rumi, so just that sort of philosophy. So my inspiration comes from I think it could be just about from anywhere.
Yeah.
And my practice is, I think for me the most important thing is color, and it's probably because Indians by nature, I think it's in our DNA. We're a very colorful lot. I mean, the color goes berserk in our clothes, in our, you know, everything. So for me, color is really important, color and form, because I think color also sort of portrays its own magic and its own story. So yeah, so color is how I work, and I work basically with oils and acrylics on canvas.
Yeah.
I'm not into. I haven't even started trying other mediums yet, but probably that's something down the road I might.
Yeah. I think I always find it reassuring and brilliant when I find a fellow artist who is happy to be, well, is just confident about the fact that their work is potentially purely there for the aesthetic, as opposed to it needing to have an extra level or a different sort of a challenge or a conversation. And I think
Yeah,
and it just shows the individuality of an artist is what's really important. So because we
yeah,
don't all want artists to be all the same and everybody to be sort of challenging or doing whatever, and there has to be this sort of ebb and flow of engagement with work, and having
right.
those different sort of streams and conversations and gentleness or challenge depending on the environment, the circumstance, you as a viewer. So all of that just needs to have that rich sort of tapestry on offer, because then it is accessible to whatever level people want to actually engage with it. And I think
Yeah.
yeah, just to be unapologetic about where your actual work is and how it's placed is a really important thing as well. And I yeah, so I salute you for the confidence, because I really appreciate that, because there are times I
Thank you.
question myself, because I'm quite content for my work to purely have an aesthetic response or someone to respond to it like that, as opposed to needing that extra conversation. Sometimes they are surprising, the conversations, but it's not my intent. And that's actually, yeah, letting that be quite organic and natural is really lovely.
No, it's also, I did a series on women, and it actually started during the pandemic, and things had gotten really crazy here in India, I mean, fake news and all of that.
Yeah.
And patriarchy is such a strong social system over here. So while I do focus on aesthetics, there are times when like a social cause can move me
Yeah.
to and I came up with my woman series. So it could even, I mean, since we're talking about inspiration, sometimes I just like the social setup or the social vibe that's going around could also move me to want to create
Yeah,
something.
definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
And it should, in a strain. I think,
Yeah.
we are the voice of society in that sense.
Yes.
But that's the thing. It's like whatever your intent is your own. It's like you don't need to actually elaborate too much or sort of feel like you're justifying that choice of your intent. But yeah, it's really interesting, and I think we could that's a whole nother probably one. We can have a whole panel discussion on that, I think, as a separate
Yeah.
conversation. But let's sort of move on for now about what you're sort of up to at the moment. Are you involved with anything art canny? And Maz, we are going to go back to you for this first one.
Yes, I'm very excited to be involved in actually two upcoming ArtCan exhibitions. One is the home exhibition, but then first coming up next week is Transparent as a Dragonfly exhibition in Rome. Very exciting for me. It's my first not London exhibition,
Yeah,
and is really a perfect theme for me because it's based on a book that's all about cities. Yeah, it's Italo Calvino's book, Invisible Cities. And it was a different way of working for me. I really loved it. Rather than thinking about existing cities, I was going through this book where he describes different cities in each chapter. They're all kind of from his imagination, but also slightly from, at one point in the book, he mentions that everything he imagines has a connection to Venice, because that's a city he loves, and where he's from, I believe. But yeah, I was going through each chapter and like sketching a different idea for this. So I ended up settling on like 9 of the cities to make an artwork from. Couldn't choose just one. It had to be like
no.
a series. I think that worked well in the way that I've worked previously, sometimes like doing a whole series of squares where I can focus on maybe sometimes for detail, sometimes zooming right out, and thinking about different details that will make up a city, and I could use different textures and different timbers to represent different things.
I'm really looking forward to seeing it in person as well. So I've actually, do have my ticket. I will be going to Rome next week
Oh,
with
nice.
Cal. So it will be myself and a little boy coming to celebrate this international collaboration with the Arte Borgo Gallery in Rome. So yeah, and it's going to be just the content and the inspiration and the story behind the exhibition just means that there's going to be a really diverse, and I might have had a sneak preview of the catalogue, just saying, really diverse collection of artworks, but each of them having that sort of link and thread through them. And that's, yeah, brilliant. So can I just have a shout out to Rita and to Leslie, who are the two ArtCam curators who are working with the gallery over there as well. They have pulled together something that's really unique and beautiful. So it's a very, very, very cool thing for this in our 10-year anniversary year of ArtCam. So yes, congratulations and good luck with both of those exhibitions. And Nikki, I remember you at last Christmas we did an ArtCam calendar and you were our cover artist then, and it was just beautiful. So what are you up to at the moment? I just suddenly remembered that was yeah.
That actually was like a high point in my life.
Oh,
To be a cover artist, it was like such a big deal for me. So I want to thank you for that. I was part of the Elevates, the one at Kroll
yeah,
last August, and I was part of that. I sent one of my artworks for that. Again, a very big high point in my art career to be part of that show. I'm in the process of actually applying for submitting my work for your recent call, which is then and now.
yeah,
So I'm going to be I'm going to be making that submission in the next few days.
fantastic.
Yeah. As far as getting involved in this year, I haven't really been doing too much of work. Life somehow just has come in the way, and just embroiled in a lot of other things. So for now, I mean, I think I've just done like 2 or 3 paintings this year. I haven't done much work at all this year, but I'm hoping to change that in 24.
But it's the same. It's like we were saying. It's the ebb and flow, isn't it? As you as a creative,
Yeah.
it's like there are points where something inspires you to then sort of take another step or to get involved with things, and embracing that ebb and flow is really important too. But
Yes.
thank you very much for the little call out, because actually the Then and Now exhibition is an open call, so it's going to be selected from 20 ArtCam artists and also 20 open call submissions. So if you're an artist who isn't actually an ArtCam member, this is an opportunity for you to get involved with one of our exhibitions, and it's in the ArtCam virtual gallery, which is going to be recreated once again for this particular exhibition. And that sort of interaction and immersive sort of experience for a virtual exhibition just gives it that extra level of accessibility, I think. So it's going to be a really, really wonderful one. So if you're interested in that, then you need to head to the ArtCam.org profile, and if you click on the bio, then it will give you a link to be able to find out all the details. So there we go. So I'm doing quite well with my plugs today. I always, at the end of the conversation, I know I'm going to have my hand slapped otherwise if I forget a plug. So I've done quite well. So now I've got to the point really where you get to ask me some questions, because you sort of know what you've got coming up next. So yeah, Nikki, maybe start with you. What's your curveball question for me today?
Well, because I live in Bombay, so my questions are going to be more about from an international artist standpoint. I was very interested in taking part, which was eventually cancelled, the show in Paris with Kroll.
Yeah.
But and this isn't a question actually, it's more a request or a suggestion. When you have such shows outside of London, is there any way that you can tie up with, maybe courier companies in order for our paintings to be shipped back? Because I have to say that ArtCam helped me immensely, and Rita did also. When the show at Kroll was over on this May, I got in touch with, and it was the introduction that ArtCam made with a wonderful company, a courier company that shipped my painting back.
Yeah.
So if you can sort of have like that sort of an infrastructure in place for international artists, it just becomes easier. So
it does. I mean, the partnership with Transart is fantastic for UK sort of shipping in and sort of out. But the international aspect is like, I think we're looking to set up our sort of ArtCan hubs in other countries as well, which is going to help with
Nice.
all of that, because then they can find, there'll be someone on the ground locally who'll be able to help with that, or have a friend or know who they use, which should then do. But yeah, it's something that I'm very aware makes just it would just make everything much more smooth for our
Nice.
international artists if they didn't then have to worry about the shipping sort of in and out of our
Yeah.
international shows. Whereas it was just a brilliant godsend to be introduced to Transart, to be able to help with the UK sort of process of it.
Yeah.
So we are very aware. It's just logistically it's quite difficult. So but yeah, clocked
I'm
and noted.
sure.
We'll see how we can build up on that, I promise. Maz, you look like you've got a circle rolling. So are you there or not?
Hello?
We can hear you. You're not
Okay,
moving.
yeah, I can see you're frozen. That's a bit awkward, but if you can hear me,
Yeah.
that's great. So my question was, I think we've discussed it a little bit in person before. I thought, as I know you from your some of your other roles in, well, one of your for working with you, I thought I'd ask more about like whether you have top tips for like balance in life or switching between roles. I was wondering whether like you ever imagine changing different hats for different roles in life, and if you do imagine that, what would your art can hat look like?
Hmm. Um, that's such a good question. And interestingly, I think as I've got older, it's not so necessary to have specific hats.
Okay.
So it's almost like I've just got one huge, amazing hat that sort of, it's like this umbrella with everything else sort of feeding in, and then I happen to sort of be the one who's then talking or making things happen. And that amazing hat has been made up of the experience and life and just general everything that sort of is making up who I am. And I think that goes down to experience and just being open to lots of different things and being able to be quite brave and take those risks to sort of make things happen. I'm incredibly proud of ArtCan, and so I do hold that quite tightly and structured and professional in how I communicate about ArtCan. And that for me is really important. And I also am incredibly proud of the work that I do within the day job, and I do sort of keep that very sort of structured and make sure that there's no conflict seen between the two roles, that I am dedicated to each of them whenever I am focusing on that particular role. But I would say emotionally and intelligently, there's no differentiation, if you know what I mean. It's more about the communication of it that makes it a different hat. So it's kind of answering your question, but it's sort of saying that I don't have separate hats anymore, but I think I did, but now they've just amalgamated into this one big, quite gorgeous and brilliant one that I am very proud to wear, but it just ends up differentiating between the roles that I happen to be in at that moment in time. But the core of it all is me. So yeah, I never falsify a situation feeling I have to be that in that role, because that never works for anybody. Oh, we've lost her. And I thought I was being quite
Oh,
elegant and trying to get to the answer of that. I'll have to follow it up with her later. Let's see whether or not we can get her back in. Let me try. Let me search for her and give it a go. Invite. Let's do it that way around. Cool. Well, we'll see if that works. But did that make sense, Nikki? In your head?
yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny, but I'm very proud of how much I've grown up. I think, when I think as you do get older and you do sort of experience things, as long as you store and learn from them, and I always love learning. So I think knowledge is power and learning is power. So everything I sort of experience and do is sort of logged somewhere, and you sort of take that to then move yourself forward more confidently. And yeah, it all just sort of adds into that sort of tapestry that you can then offer back in that way.
No,
quite
I think you're doing
philosophical this morning.
you're doing a brilliant job, and I think I'm very proud to be a part of this of art again. It's like you it's an international recognition, and yeah, I'm really proud to be part of this organization.
It's really good to hear. Thank you so much,
Can
and
you
thank
hear?
you so much for joining me this morning, because it's been like I said at the beginning, it's such a lovely way of just having a chat to end the month and sort of
Yes.
start the weekend. Oh, I might be able to get her back in just as our last. Let me see if I can. Come on, Maz. At least for a little wrap up and round up at the end. Except, come on. Yeah, you're back. Brilliant.
Sorry, I don't know why I disappeared for so long.
You'll have to play this back, because I think I was quite philosophical and eloquent. I'm just going to say, but don't ask me to say it again, because it was spur of the moment.
I like the first part of the answer, definitely. It was unexpected, your idea of having an umbrella hat, so you don't have to actually even change hat. You just always got
I'm
things to draw on.
all about efficiency,
Yeah, so clever. I wouldn't even thought of that. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I should have known. Like, I am genuinely impressed with how you do everything. I don't know how you do it. Well, now I know, an umbrella hat.
Yeah, it is an umbrella hat. Whether or not I might have to draw one, or someone can draw one for me with all my different aspects and growth. But I was telling Nikki while you sort of just dropped out that it's about the experience and actually constantly learning and taking that knowledge and storing it somewhere, which is why it has to be quite a big hat,
Yeah.
because then you can draw on that, and then you just, you sort of feel that maybe that is an age thing, maybe that's an experience thing, maybe it's, I don't know. I think it's just it's sort of an acceptance of the situation, because I can't really do anything about it. I have to work. I enjoy my job. I have to do ArtCan. I love ArtCan. So, it's I think trying to not have any sort of conflict or distinction between is actually really important, because then hopefully other people are also inspired to sort of challenge and, sometimes do things a little bit differently. You don't have to always sort of follow the status quo. So, yeah, there we go. So I was actually just quickly going to sort of wrap up and say thank you both to you both for joining me
Thank
this
you.
morning. It has been a really lovely chat again, and it's set me up for the weekend. And
Thank you so
good
much.
luck next week in Rome. Good luck with your submission as well, Nikki. It's so lovely
Thank
that you
you.
joined us today. Enjoy your
Thank you.
weekend, and we'll see you again really
Yes,
soon.
soon. Thank you, Kate. Thank you very much.
It's been really
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Take care, everybody. Bye.